Hi, good morning. JB Portillo here, and it's time for another Mayor's Wrap. You know, I don't know how you feel about it, but it's a little surprising to go to sleep and during the middle of the night wake up and discover that it's below freezing. And then I guess in a few days we're going to be back up to 80. I don't understand. But anyway, welcome, Mayor Christie.
Thank you.
So good to see you always.
Well, it's that allergy time of year, and I don't do well. So actually the freeze was a little bit of a delight because it calmed the pollen down, but
that's true.
We're going to go back up again.
Oh, we are. And you know, somebody told me the other day when they moved to Arkansas, they used to have a gray truck, and then all of a sudden they had a yellow truck
I
because
know.
of all the pollen.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yep.
But let's talk about the city.
Sure.
Tell us about the financials. I know you're strong, but...
Oh, we're extremely strong. We've got $9 million in reserve. That'll come down a bit. On Monday night, this coming Monday, Council, I believe, will approve our resurfacing budget for this year. We're going to go after 56 miles of road. That's a combination of slurry and asphalt. And that's going to cost about $2.3 million. So that'll pull that $9 million down somewhat. But nevertheless, we're still in great shape. We received $1.1 million from the CARES Act, and so far we have spent about $400,000 of it, including a bonus recently for all employees. Nothing for the elected officials, want to assure everybody of that. It looks through the American Rescue Plan as if we're going to get $5.5 million. The problem is we don't know what we can spend it on at the moment. Federal Treasury is saying maybe by May the 11th they'll have some sort of direction as to what you can spend it on. At the moment it's simply COVID-related projects, water, sewer, and broadband, whatever all that means. I know that all of us who sit in a mayor's seat are also saying, I need to get to streets. Mm-hmm. So please put that in as well. Mm-hmm. So we'll see if they actually include it. But, you know, one of the smartest things we ever did was actually establish a city, because if we had kept it as the POA, we would see none of this money from these grants.
And that's absolutely the truth.
Yes, it is.
Yes, that's amazing. Well, I know you're very frugal, and I know you've been stashing all this away for particular things like this and whatever surprises may come up.
That's true.
So
that's true.
Thank you. Again, I thank you every time for that, but I truly mean that.
Thank you.
It's got to be hard. And you have an amazing crew.
I do. It took me 3.5 years to put the crew together. But this is what I did in the corporate world. I was a fixer, mm-hmm. and it always took 3.5 years. I don't know what the magic is, the secret sauce.
Yeah.
But it gets to a point where you know it's humming.
Yes.
And then you can begin to concentrate on long-term projects and planning.
Exactly.
And I've got a great crew.
Yes, you do. Let's talk a little bit about, I know I always kind of set in on the city council meetings because it's important to me as a citizen more than anything else.
Good for you, yeah.
And I heard you all talking the other night a little bit about the connectors with the trails.
Yes.
Can you talk to us about that a little bit?
Yeah, sure. That's the Metfield connector from the Blowing Springs Greenway, where it ends at the first parking lot. And then it continues and it goes all the way up to the Metfield Recreation Center. It's just about finished. Mm-hmm. There's very little left to do. We might have to put some bollards in along some sections of it. Some members of council the other night were concerned that they thought that the sidewalk was within 2 feet of the road. It's not. It's 5 feet, because we went out and measured it yesterday. But nevertheless, the sidewalk is down from the road. And that's never a good thing. We looked at putting guardrails up, and as Chief mentioned at the meeting,
right,
that's probably not a good idea either. But if we can put up the plastic pipes or bollards that you see along the way, so we spoke to Trailblazers yesterday, and we'd have to have a change order come through. But other than that, it's looking great. People are using it. They're jogging, walking their dogs, biking on it.
Yeah.
I think once the weather turns and it becomes really nice, it's going to be very, very popular.
It is, especially because of COVID, even with COVID, if people get it back outside again, it'll be wonderful.
That's right.
So those ballard things, those are those orange things that
They can
stick
be
up?
orange or white.
Okay.
Whatever's going to catch the eye of the motorist, and just say, hey, keep to the left, don't get over here. And, you know, you'll have some taken out by cars, and they're relatively inexpensive to put back in.
But like the chief said, he said, you know, when somebody goes off the road, they go down. They never go off the road
That's right.
up.
That's right.
So it's, yeah, I'm glad you're looking into that.
Yep,
at
we are.
least. Yeah. All right. Let's talk a little bit about impact fees, because I swear to you, people don't really understand. I know we've talked about it before,
Sure.
but could you give us like the cliff notes again and where
Right.
we are?
Sure. We've seen all this building going on. And while it's good for people like the POA because their assessments go up because it's based on per house, for the city, you know, some people say, well, look at all the property tax you're going to get. Well, property tax is not a big heavy hitter for us because it's so minuscule. Sales tax is the big revenue for us. So we still have to keep the roads up. We have to make sure that with the growth, we have the fire department and the police department fully funded. We have to make sure we have enough building inspectors. You know, the list goes on. And because we don't have a large commercial tax base, we have to find the money somewhere. And I really don't want to start raising property taxes. So we're looking at impact fees, which are often used by city councils, especially when the city's in a growth mode as we are. And it's a fee that's attached to a new construction, and it's a one-time fee. And the components that we're looking at are for fire, police, library, but we can't do streets, which is a bit of a disappointment. We hired a consultant who's been working on this now for almost 2 months, and he's got very complicated formulas as to how much do you put aside for the library and the police and fire. The problem with the streets is if you have impact money, it can only be used to purchase new things. You cannot use it for operations and maintenance.
Right.
And the streets were platted for the most part a long time ago by Cooper. And even if Mother Nature has grown up because nobody has bothered to build on the street before, it's still considered an existing street, not a new street.
Even the ones that aren't paved or taken care of.
Even the ones that aren't paved or taken care of. And that's been a disappointment for us because it's the streets that are really of a major concern.
Yes.
What's going to happen? I don't know. They have just given us their second rendition of the proposal, and we will be having a special council meeting sometime within the next 2 weeks. It'll be a work session, and we'll have the consultant take us through, and of course the public is invited to listen. And but it remains to be seen as to whether or not we're going to do it.
I got you. You know, that gives me an opportunity to say again, so many people seem to be unaware of the fact that they can actually participate in those work sessions by Zoom.
Yes.
It's very easy to do. It's on the website.
Yep.
And right at the top of, there's always a beautiful laid out agenda and what's happening, and right at the top of that is a Zoom link.
Yep, you just click on it.
And you can just be there.
That's
now,
right.
you can't, nobody can really hear you. You can chat or raise your hand or ask questions.
Right.
But, you know, that is, I just wish more people would realize that instead of asking the questions later or being in the dark, that they really can be there and
Yes.
they can hear what's going on.
And the work session is really the meat and potatoes. That's where we talk about a lot of issues, sometimes at a very granular level.
Yes.
And we will have guests in, people from the planning department, or we'll have somebody from the outside as a specialist to try and give us counsel on some issue. But really, that's where you get a really good appreciation, because by the time it goes to council, there may be some discussion, but not nearly as much as there is in a work session, and things tend to flow rather quickly. So if you do get a chance to participate, please do.
Oh, absolutely. And another thing that I just love the fact that you guys tweet a lot of things too. They're
Yes.
little snippets and all of that. And I actually pass those along because I think they're important. And the one the other day about public hearings, because a
Yes.
lot of people are like, what does that sign mean? I don't understand. And
That's right.
You know. So I'm hoping that people will start to realize that that information is there.
It is. It is.
And they can call you, but it's there.
And it's really important that everybody sign up for our text service as well.
Yes.
It is a city-based text service. It's not the county one.
Right.
And it's very easy to do. You simply go to our web page, and along the toolbar at the top, there's something that says, I want to, and you click on that. I want to do a whole bunch of things, and one of them is sign up for the text service.
And that gives them what?
And that gives, if Cassie, who's our communications director, for example, if we have some doses left over at the end of a vaccine clinic, then she will send something out, and it goes to everybody that has signed up for it and says, we have X number of doses, you don't need an appointment, come now.
Yes.
And that has worked well.
Yes.
If we think that a road is going to be closed, that'll go out. Anything that will impact the community. So we won't blow up your phone with absolutely everything, but if it's something key that we think that the residents should know about, then we have a direct way of doing it.
No TikTok stuff.
No TikTok stuff, no.
Well, you know, I think you could probably do those TikTok things if you really wanted to. You know, I think we have, let's talk a little bit about, I'm going to skip the burn thing right now. I want to talk about that, but
Sure.
we just have a couple of minutes before the break. Can we talk about the septic systems, or is that a long, drawn-out thing, too?
No, the problem with the septics is you're only allowed to put a certain size of septic based on the number of bedrooms, and that comes from the health department. And unfortunately, some new homes that are built on a 2-bedroom septic and have a two-bedroom septic tank are being marketed by builders as a 4-bedroom. And what they do is they submit their plans to our planning folks, and if we notice, hey, you've got a 3 or a 4-bedroom, but it's only a 2 septic, then they will come in and they actually change it on their drawings, which is fine. They'll call it a den or whatever, and they won't put a closet in. But what happens is when they have finished the home, they will market it as a 4-bedroom, but they will put tiny print on the bottom that says this is on a 2-bedroom septic. And not every builder does it, but there are a few, and that's got to stop.
Yeah.
Because what happens later on is you purchase it, you know that it's a 2-bedroom, and then you sell it.
Yeah.
And the realtor may sell it as a 4-bedroom, because many realtors, and we have realtors helping us with this, don't necessarily go back to the original septic plat and see that it is a 2-bedroom. So we've got to remedy this in order to protect not only the new buyers, but more importantly, the buyers that are buying something that's been built.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, let's take a quick break.
Sure.
And then we got a couple of topics that I think are, to me, very interesting, but that I think the city would like to hear about, too.
Absolutely.
Okay. We'll be back in a few minutes. Okay, we're back. Welcome back. We are now, I'd like to talk to you about a couple of things that
Sure.
I think a lot of folks knows about, and it's an issue, and then another thing that we don't know about yet, but you're going to enlighten us.
Sure.
So let's talk about the burning issue, as in burning
It's a burning
lots.
issue.
It's
Sure.
a burning
Yeah.
issue.
We really have 2 types of burns. There's a residential burn, which is someone has some leaves or some small limbs and wants to burn it.
Doesn't include fire pits, though.
No.
Okay.
No. And this is usually the case in the fall and the spring. And so what you have to do by ordinance is you call dispatch, which is the main police number, the non-emergency number, and ask, is it okay if I have a burn today and this is what I want to do? That burn ban is evaluated every morning by our fire department, and there are certain things that they look at: wind speed, the air humidity, et cetera, et cetera. And if they say, sure, it's okay to burn, then dispatch will ask for your name and address, and we put it into the dispatch system so that if someone else calls and said, I see smoke in my neighborhood, then we're able to check and say, yeah, that's okay, it's number so-and-so, has permission for It's called a control burn. On the builder side, the burns are a little more intense because what they're basically doing is clearing the lot. And then it's cheaper for them to burn it rather than haul it away. And it creates some problems if you're actually burning and you've got housing all around you. You know, the smoke will permeate into the other homes. If you've got asthma or something, that's not a good thing. And so we've been working with the building community on figuring out just how can we make this better. And so one of the council members brought a revision to the code to the work session this past Monday. There was a great deal of discussion about it. How's it going to work? Who gets the permit from where? What's the distance going to be from the nearest residence? You know, all that type of thing. And so the council member actually pulled it off the agenda and realized, okay, there's a lot more work that has to be done here. And so I'm hoping that he'll have something ready for the May meeting, because the housing is still booming here. You know, at the end of March, we had issued 140 permits. Last year, it was the middle of May before we hit 140 permits. So it's still increasing, and it's something that has to be solved.
Yes. East side, west side, all over?
It's all over.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
it is.
Wow. Okay. Well, something else that came up at the council, I'm going to let you talk about it because it's, you know, it's a little sensitive, but
Sure.
you can explain the issue right now we're having with our public safety building and getting it started.
Yeah, it's a water issue. Before we even went to the bond and we were looking at drawings, etc., you have to sprinkle that building.
Yes.
The main reason is because we're going to have a 3-cell detention center. But nevertheless, it's also driven by the size of the building and the size of the rooms, et cetera, et cetera. That location is serviced by Centerton Water. And the pipe is fairly small. It's good enough for everyday usage for, you know, washing your hands in the restrooms, et cetera, et cetera. But a fire suppression system, it cannot handle, a sprinkler system. And you may be able to load the pipes and they sit and they wait for the fire that hopefully never comes. But if you have a fire, you have to have enough water from the water main going through the system to keep feeding the system, and the Centerton system just can't do that. So we approached Cooper, because that particular property is outside of the POA. And so therefore, the POA is eager to give us the water, God bless them, but they have to get Cooper permission to do so because it is outside the declaration. And so we had a meeting back in 2019 with John Cooper, showed him the initial plans, and he said to us, don't worry, I will supply water. Great. And then we had another meeting with him later on in the year, again before we went to bond, and don't worry, we will get you water. And then we had a Zoom call with their legal counsel, myself and our attorney, and don't worry, we'll draw up the paperwork and you'll have water. Well then, Mr. Cooper ended up being chairman of the board, so he wasn't president of the company anymore, and they brought a new fellow in who's been a long-time employee, and his name is Kent Berger. And Mr. Berger decided not to give us water. And his reasoning is because they have discovered that when we set up the zones, you know, the zoning that you know so well from your stint on the Planning Commission, that a lot of their reserve properties, both residential and commercial, the founding fathers had decided to call them a P zone, which is a park, instead of, you know, saying, okay, it's residential or it's commercial or whatever. And Cooper discovered just recently that there were over 45 such properties. So they want us to go through and very quickly change all of them to what they should be. And I've explained to Mr. Berger, it doesn't work that way. We'll be more than happy to help you, and we'll get each one in front of the Planning Commission. We may be able to bulk them by, similar streets or addresses, but it has to be examined, and then it has to go to council, and council has to approve it. And because it's an ordinance, it takes 3 readings. Well, he wants to see something happen before he's going to give us water. And so we have actually written him a letter. Our attorney sent it, and he cited some law and said, you also promised on 3 occasions to give us water, and you have reneged. So we need your response by April the 28th at 4:30 p.m. If they don't respond or they continue to say no, then we're going down a legal corridor. And I won't go through it all here because it is quite lengthy and it's quite complicated. If you want to see what happened at the last council work session this past Monday, I believe it's on YouTube.
It is, or will be any second now.
Right.
We got it yesterday.
Did you? Good. And so you can listen to our attorney actually talking to council and taking them through the various options and next steps that we have. This is something that I really don't want to do.
Right.
We have worked well with Cooper. Anything John ever said that he was going to do happened. And so I would like them just to keep their word, and we will move forward and try and help them with their properties. And we'll do it very legally and above board. And I'm hoping that's going to be their response.
Gotcha. Yeah. Yeah, because we kind of need to get started on that building, don't we?
Well, it's a bond that was approved by a large majority of our constituents. It's paid for by a tax. It's going to give us our very first real police station that's going to last for the next 30, 35 years. The courthouse is going to be in there as well. It's something that the community really needs.
True.
And I believe in my heart that, Cooper still cares about our community, and that they will step forward and say, okay, let's continue working on these other things, and you've got your water. It's the right thing to do.
It is, and there are other things that we as a city work with Cooper on. So the relationship is important.
Yes, it is.
But at the same time, we have a commitment here to our citizens.
We do.
So, all right. Well, I know that's one of the really fun things you get to do.
That's true.
All right. Well, is there anything else you can think of that you'd like to share with our citizens today before we sign off?
Sure. I'm going to give you an update on COVID. We have done exceptionally well as a city. We've hosted or been a part of going on to 10 different vaccine clinics. And in fact, we have another one tomorrow and Thursday, which is the second shot of Pfizer for those that actually got it 3 weeks ago. We're expecting about 1,000 people.
Good.
After that is finished, between ourselves and the pharmacies, Jim down in Cornerstone has been doing a terrific job with his team. And CVS helped us over on Concordia. And then we've had residents going to the large events, the drive-through events like at J.B. Hunt. We estimate that as of tomorrow, after we're finished, 40% of our estimated population, or 12,000 people, are going to have both shots. And that's well ahead of many other cities. So I feel very, very pleased for it. Where we're having a bit of a challenge, and every city is like this, and you can actually see it in the newspapers as well, is there's a tranche of people that are absolutely objecting to it.
Yes.
And some of their reasons may be quite valid. They could be religious, they could be medical. There's also distrust of how quickly it came to the marketplace. There is also some groups that, well, I'm not going to commit to a second shot because I don't know when I'm going to be free and available. And so the Johnson & Johnson shot was very attractive to them because they only have to do it once. Well, as we know, that's on hold at the moment because of some issues that have cropped up. I'm convinced that in the long run, we will be fine. It's just going to have to take a little bit of persuasion in order to convince people this isn't necessarily bad. You know, Connie and I had both Pfizer shots, and we didn't have a second nose grow anywhere. And
You didn't turn into AI or
no,
anything? Okay,
and
good.
you know, the arm was a bit sore, but that's the same as any needle. And there are ways that you can remedy it by putting ice on the injection spot or massaging it actually. And some people have had some reactions. I think probably the strongest that we have seen is we've had a couple of people faint. So after you get the inoculation, the advice that we give based on the CDC is please have a seat over there in the waiting area and wait about 15 minutes because we've got lots of paramedics here on hand so that if something happens. And so when these two folks did faint, the paramedics went over immediately, all was well.
Was a lot of that just maybe anxiety?
It could be, you know, a lot of people don't like getting needles.
Right.
I don't like getting needles, especially when it's a dental one going into my mouth. It's
Yes.
just, anyway.
Yes.
But yes, I think there's a fair amount of anxiety. But it's also refreshing to see people who are just absolutely delighted to be getting the shot.
Yeah.
And we actually had one person break down and cry after the second one, and I said, "Are you all right?" "Oh, yes, yes. I'm finally going to be able to see my grandchildren." And that's a big deal.
Yeah, it certainly is. Absolutely.
Yep.
Well, that's all good to know. And you know, Bella Vista seems to kind of always be ahead of the game a little bit, and I think you and your team have a lot to do with that.
Well, you know, as I said before, I've got a great team.
Yeah.
We would not have been in the position we are now hadn't it been for Chief Sims, who's our fire department
Yes.
chief. He had a vision of a community paramedic program that started probably 3 to 4 years ago. It took us a long time to get certified, but it paid off because they do injections all the time. And then I was able to get our first batch of vaccine through a connection that I have at Northwest Hospitals. And from that point, we've never looked back.
Yeah, yeah. Well, let's just briefly touch on, because I see progress every day. I drive by the new fire station.
Yes.
Wow, I see 3 bays there and
Yeah,
some
there are
other
going to be
stuff
3
happening.
bays. They've got most of the block work done. And then they'll start concentrating on the living quarters as
Yeah.
well. It's going to be a great station.
Yeah.
It's still scheduled to open on October the 1st. We just got the septic certification the other day. It came in from the Department of Health. So we're away to the races. It's if we keep getting the good weather and not the cold stuff,
Yeah.
then I think October the 1st is certainly doable.
Yes.
And you know, the plan is move everything over from number 3, supplement it from the other stations, because we don't have to hire anybody else, and we don't have to buy any more equipment. We've done that and been storing it into any cranny hole that we can find in the others. And we'll just simply move in, get established, turn it on, and then old fire station number 3 we're actually going to keep. We were originally going to demolish it and put a sand salt storage on that area, but it's a good building. And it's got bays in there, so we're going to put the sand salt storage behind it, and in the bays we're going to put equipment like a front end loader so we can load the trucks in the wintertime with the sand salt, etc. It's got some bedrooms, etc., so we could actually man it as a satellite.
Gotcha.
So I think it's going to be a win-win all around.
Oh, I can't wait. I
Yep.
really can't. Well, it looks like our time is up.
Okay.
But this has always been fun and informative. I look forward to this, and I'm hoping that we can get more people watching us, going to the website, finding out facts before they make up their mind about something that isn't
Yes.
true. I know you are always open to phone calls and texts. I
Sure.
mean, there hasn't been a time that you haven't answered. You know, I don't know whether you just like, what does she want again, or or what, but you're always there, and I appreciate it very much.
Well, you know, if you nip them in the bud, then a lot of the wild tales that you pick up on social media will very quickly cool off. And so,
And the neighborhood is actually helping you with that. Those that are informed are actually commenting on
Oh,
those
that's good.
negative things.
That's
and
good.
so we don't have to do that so much.
Good.
All right, well, nice to see you.
to
And
see you.
same time next month.
Will do.
Yeah?
Yep.
Okay, well, you take care and have a good day, and hope those allergies get better.
Yeah, me too.
Okay. All right, thank you, Bella Vista. Until we meet again.